Now, the one major reason why Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, was a major flop at the box office was, without a doubt, Phoebe Waller-Bridge portraying the role of Helena Shaw, and how that really contributed to a lot of other problems for Disney, of course, higher-ups like the board of directors, and yes, even Bob Iger, the CEO, for pulling the plug on several projects that Phoebe Waller-Bridge was actually connected to. Let's discuss. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into exactly what's going on between Kathleen Kennedy and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Now, we talked about how Phoebe Waller was fired from several Disney-related projects that were either in early development or pre-production, or some of which that were getting very close to going into production. But what's interesting all the more so has a lot to do with what Kathleen Kennedy recently did to Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and how this was recently finalized behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm, and specifically what it really means for the future of everything related to her career over at Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, we know that there's been a lot of problems happening with Kathleen Kennedy and basically exactly what she did to the Star Wars franchise and everything related to what Phoebe Waller-Bridge contributed to the Star Wars universe as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the week, but what's interesting about this is specifically what Kennedy did and how it really comes from the big wigs over at Disney. Let's discuss. Now, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge recently fired from several Disney-related projects, we already talked about that, due to her contributions to Indy 5, The Dial of Destiny, becoming a box office flop. However, one major update has much to do with how now Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy recently finalized what was passed down to her by the Disney higher-ups to fire Waller-Bridge from the upcoming Lando Calrissian series that is being led now by Donald Glover himself. Now, in a surprising turn of events, as it turns out, when Donald took over, he requested Kathleen Kennedy to bring this matter up to the Disney heads to get approval to fire Waller-Bridge from the Lando series, returning as L337, or else he was going to walk away from said project. Originally, Disney was planning on turning L337 into a droid, both in the past, and also having Phoebe play a different droid in the present, to endlessly talk about equal rights for droids, to further their agenda about equal rights, to send a message to the general public with this actual series. Now, Glover was not in support of any of that, and knew going in that that was going to be a very big controversial piece carried with him, and how it did also carry with him with the Han Solo film, and got Kathleen Kennedy to fire Waller-Bridge from the Lando series. Now, guys, let me just pause here quick before I get to the next big piece of this development, is that, yes, this was a thing in the Han Solo film that really kind of tarnished the movie. We always had Phoebe Waller-Bridge endlessly saying, like, the worst dialogue possible. And there was a moment in the Millennium Falcon where L3 was talking about equal rights this, equal rights that, and that was Kathleen Kennedy. That was all Disney. Basically, it was a way, or it was a conduit for Disney to speak up about equal rights, whether it be for women or for everybody in, across the board, diversity, etc., etc. It wasn't about the in-universe equal rights of droids. It was really about Disney expressing the concern about equal rights and promoting that in this film. And this is exactly why I always have a problem with Disney, is that it's never about the story. It's always 100% about throwing in these nonsense agendas, these DEI agendas, and really making them apparent in these movies. That's why L337 was such a cringeworthy droid, to the point where when I saw this in theaters back in 2018, I'll be honest with you, I don't know about you guys, everybody was cheering when Phoebe Waller-Bridge's L3 droid got completely dismantled. And a lot of fans got even more annoyed over the fact that when L3's consciousness becomes a part of the Millennium Falcon, Kathleen Kennedy did comment on that, And in her point of view, she actually viewed that as the Falcon becoming a female. I'm not even joking you. Kathleen Kennedy at one point went on the record and said, yeah, in my point of view, that means that the Falcon becomes a female in the Han Solo film. Because L3's mind or consciousness becomes embedded within the ship itself. So that just goes to show you that, really and quite literally, she is trying to make the Force's female all around. Ships, droids, whatever it may be, Force users, etc. Let's move on. Now, though part of this was also accepted due to Waller's terrible play and the downfall of the Indy 5 film at the box office, Bridge was also, of course, set to portray this role in a major way to make an appearance as another character in the Acolyte spin-off series that she was also fired from by Kathleen Kennedy. She was set to appear as a Sith-oriented character starring alongside planned Brie Larson. And for that show that is now also facing many problems at Lucasfilm since Bob Iger's cost containment plan went active and deeply impacted Lucasfilm. Now, Waller-Bridge reportedly did not, of course, take this well, and that it caused quite a bit of an uproar between Kennedy and Phoebe behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. Even if Disney seemingly forced Kennedy to fire Waller-Bridge, Disney is also considering axing the Lando series altogether if they don't notice an uptick in fan interest if the show, of course, never gains traction. Here's the thing about the Lando series. Nobody cares. Period. The end. Nobody cares about the show. I don't care about it. I know a lot of you guys out there don't care about it. And look, if you want to make a show about Star Wars that maybe features Lando in there, that's fine. But to have a whole show about Lando Calrissian, I don't see it. I don't see how that could really have any level of fan interest and hype, let alone any kind of ongoing excitement. I just don't understand that. And look, if you're for the Lando show, that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to change your view on that. I'm just here to express my opinion about the Lando series here, right now. I think that those are the types of shows that need to just bite the dust already. Things like The Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, Lando, they just need to just completely get shelved altogether. And what they need to embrace are just very well told stories that honor George Lucas's Star Wars. And I'm not just sitting here saying it all has to be about lightsabers and the Force. All I'm saying is that it needs to be a well-crafted story that's embedded in the philosophy and in the mythology of Star Wars, right? That's what makes Star Wars so interesting, is the mythology. So when you grab like a random character like Lando and give him an entire show, I don't really see it. I don't really see where that could really go. But anyway, I would love to hear what you all have to say about Kathleen Kennedy firing Phoebe Waller-Bridge, even if it came down from the Disney heads as requested by Donald Glover himself. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.